Hi, everybody. Jim Klauck here on the Beach Money Podcast. It is so great to have you here. Another good friend of Jordan Adler's is joining me today. It's going to be a great conversation about purpose in your life and other people's lives. Gray, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me, Jim.
Yeah, it is great to have you here. I can't wait to dive in to talk about your game called Purpose and what that means to you and the people around you. I also want to dive into, in this podcast today, in this discussion, what has changed over the decades with purpose and how we interact and how COVID affected the way we were able to interact with people. And of course, also our good friend, Mr. Zuckerberg, what has he done to change our connections as well? So welcome to the program.
Yeah, thanks again for having me, man. Like you mentioned a lot of interesting things there, right? Where do you want to get started?
All right, well, let's start with Purpose, your card game. Explain, what it is, how you came about the idea and the problem you're trying to solve. Because whenever we come up with a product or service, it's generally to solve a problem. And I have a feeling that you had this aha moment where you're like, you know what? This product is going to be able to help people with their purpose and with their social connections.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, as you know, as an entrepreneur, you always are aware of problems, and that's how I've been for a very long time. But what I have to say about purpose, it wasn't what I saw as an opportunity and a problem. It was really a calling, and that's the one unique difference of, every business that I've ever had since I'm very young, since I'm 13 years old, doing importing and exporting back in elementary and doing things like that. I always saw that there was some kind of problem. Either I wanted to solve it for myself or I want to solve it for people and do something positive in a way, right? And you get rewarded for what you bring to the marketplace and how you can transform lives. Now, when it comes to this, it felt completely different. So I was actually driving in Montreal, right, which we both lived there.
Yeah.
And I was driving there on the 40, which is the highway that connects all of Canada. And in that moment, I was personally going through a very difficult time, one of the hardest moments in my life, where we had a lot of shifts happening in business at a tech company at that time, with almost 20, between 20 and 30 team members there. And I was figuring out how I was going to make things happen as a CEO and the youngest person in the entire company. And I started asking myself a lot of questions. Now, when you start asking yourself a lot of questions, at some point, you're hoping to get some kind of answers, right? And there's one answer that came through as I desperately felt like I needed some clarity. And it was a voice, and a voice just pierced through and says, "Hey, calm down. Everything's going to be okay. But what you need to do right now is you need to create a card game." And I said, "What? A card game?" And it said, right now, the world is going to be more disconnected than it ever has been before. People are lacking connection, they're lacking clarity, and they're lacking direction in who they truly are. And you need to basically gamify the process of discovering your truth. And I basically had this vision of this entire experience, how people around the world were playing this game and connecting and actually looking at each other. And since then, fast forward, actually having to make the game, and that was an entire process, which we were actually doing a documentary of the project, and how it kind of started with pieces of paper. After that, I had to started with some pieces of paper and starting to get people to together, right? And playing what felt like to me something that can really make a difference, all the way to having people message us and telling us that they got married, meeting through the game, and all these different experiences. People who have built multi-million-dollar companies that all started with a card game and the questions, because I believe that you can change your life through the questions that you ask yourself and how you ask it and where and with who and in different times. I've played this game at this point, thousands of times with so many different people. And it's so interesting how it gives you different perspective of different people. And, clarity is really what people are seeking. We talk a lot about mental health. We talk a lot about depression, but I want you to tell me if someone who has a high level of purpose, has high level of clarity, and they're moving in the direction that their heart desires, that has depression, you'll find nobody, right? So really what we're having here is a lack of purpose, and that comes down to clarity. And clarity only comes down when you start getting answers in life, and answers in life only come from questions. And it's rare that we take the time to ask ourselves those questions.
Why do you think people today need so much clarity? I don't believe 50 years ago, maybe even 30 years ago, there was the mental health crisis that we hear about today in North America, and maybe over in the UK and, other countries that are more advanced. You go back to countries that haven't advanced much in the past 50 years or 100 years. Their lives haven't changed. They don't have the stresses we have. They don't have the communication issues. Is it because of social media? We hear that blame all the time. Even the U.S. government wants to blame social media on suicides and young 14-year-old girls having image issues and so forth. Do you think that put COVID aside, that was, an issue, but, social media is prevalent, especially with younger people today. And I feel that the younger generations, people who are teens into their 30s, are having more mental health issues than people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. So why do you think that is?
Yeah, it's interesting to blame something you control, and there's a lot of things there, but the first thing is that people are not living their life. When you actually go back 50 years, maybe people didn't have the level of clarity that we, are now seeking. But guess what? People were having real conversations. People were looking at each other in the eyes. People actually experienced touch. The levels of oxytocin, which is extremely important for human beings, because that's what really makes you human, really connection, is so low compared to what it was. And it's been replaced by dopamine and other different hits that are there to control. When I'm on social media, guess what? Every single time you get this notification, you get some kind of like a message that it's been designed, and this is programmed, by design to hit dopamine center. And now what that's doing is it's actually creating addiction. That's why so many people are so addicted to these platforms, right? Now, we don't have to get into all the reasoning of advertising and why people want to keep you on the platform and all that. But what you do need to realize is that if all you're getting during your day in terms of what you want is connection, and you're getting dopamine hits, and you're getting you're getting what's really surface level interactions, because there's a big difference, Jim, between digital connectivity and real in-depth human connection. And that's a term that's starting to be thrown out a lot, but there's a big difference. And say, we're more connected than ever before. We are, yes, we are so interconnected digitally than ever before.
Yeah.
But we are more disconnected, on a true human essence than ever before. And that's something that if you actually look at the data, and I always like to look at the data just because it's something that gives you a really strong understanding. And it's like the stock market. You can see, the trends. Well, there's a trend. And as technology and now AI is skyrocketing, guess what is happening to actual connection, right? And through that connection is where we find ourselves. We find ourselves through connection. We find ourselves through conversation. And that is the reason why people were having a different level of clarity, because they were actually having compassion. They were having experiences. They were having moments of life. The moments of life that most people are having nowadays, guess what? It's happening through a screen. So how do you think that's going to, how is that going to have a ripple effect on your experience of life? And people want deep inside to live their life, to live it to the fullest, to experience life, and to be the person that they're meant here to be.
So we're destroying ourselves. That's what it sounds like. So, what's really, really interesting is if I wanted to today, I could have the hottest, best virtual girlfriend online. You're telling me that's not going to be satisfying. You're telling me I need flesh and bone, someone I can talk to, someone I can touch, someone I can kiss, right?
Yeah, I think that you would have a short term, if first of all, it's something that you would consider, because for example, someone like me, I'm not saying you in particular, right? But let's just say that's something that someone would consider. I think what they would find out at some point is that it's short term satisfaction. And on a longer term horizon, they would feel more lonely than ever before. And we're having an epidemic of loneliness that's happening. Actually, the founder of Airbnb was talking about that. And he was actually explaining how that's one of the main things that he personally wants to touch, and it's not just loneliness is actually inside, because there's a lot of people walking the street together, but alone. There's a lot of people at a nightclub moving bottles around, drinking and pretending they're having fun, but alone, right? And so real connection happens not at that surface. It happens deeper. It happens usually when there's a mix of high stake, high connection experience, and when there is authenticity. And authenticity is seen through action and through conversation. And so that's where it happens. And that's where you see real relationships be built. People want to have real relationships. Anything surface, guess what? It just doesn't last. And so I will say the same thing about this virtual girlfriend, that it won't last. It can last on a contract, on a subscription, and you'll get billed every month for having this person here to be with, but she's not actually there.
Yeah, but some point, she could be cheaper than a real girlfriend, though, right? So
that's true. That's true. I won't argue that.
She might not age, and maybe she'll say some nice things about me. And I'm kind of joking, but this is a thing today. I mean, you can have a virtual girlfriend. I think the world's kind of screwy, and I say that because of the fact that I've been around a long time. When I was young, our telephones were screwed to the wall. We didn't call people. We called places and asked if that person was there. So everything's different. I was a well-grown adult when smartphones became available and apps were, coming into play. I mean, I was married and I was a father of children. There are young people, a younger generation, who knows nothing else but that. They didn't sit around the campfire and tell stories. They didn't sit at the kitchen table and play board games or card games. They never had that. Tell me about how your game, Purpose, I'm assuming brings back some of that connection that I'm familiar with when I was young, that I still get today, because that hasn't left me. I think I'm blessed that I'm older. I really do, because I'm in a new world now that I'm like, it's like going to a different country. I'm still an American, and I'm like, this culture is different. Well, I'm still the guy who grew up in the 70s and 80s where there wasn't technology like this. And I'm living in this saying, kind of glad I had the experience before because I can still use that. So talk about how your game purpose helps people.
Yeah, no, that's you made a lot of good points there, and just to connect it back to the game, uh, for me, it was important to really like I started kind of engineering connection and looking at it from a perspective of, okay, what is connection, and how do you have also not only that, but how do you create breakthroughs in relationships? And this can be personal breakthroughs. This can be breakthroughs with people around you, where you actually find a way to be authentic, to grow. A lot of people have had financial breakthroughs, believe it or not. Like I was mentioning to you, how people have built, very successful businesses, and we actually keep track on these stories because one of my exciting projects this year is to document that. And since I've been in the film industry for a long time as a producer, director, actor in the past, like I have a lot of passion for documenting stories and sharing them to the world. So that's going to be exciting. But and when it comes to that, when it comes to any financial breakthrough, for example, it's all interconnected to internal, right? It's that everything's kind of comes back to that, and all that comes back to getting the right perspectives, getting the right prompts, getting the right questions in different moments, and adding a gameplay element to it that makes it fun. There's people out there that have told me they've played the game for over 5 hours. Like, tell me last time someone played Uno for 5 hours. There's people out there who literally played the game over 500 times. And I have this all in writing, and it said they take it every place that they go. Like, and again, there's always super fans, right? Now, I'm not saying everybody this is the case, but that even at that case, the reason why is because it is able to supercharge a conversation. It's able to give different perspectives on things. And so I'll give you one example here. Let me grab a card for you, Jim. Okay.
Okay.
So if we open the game here, all right, Jim, top or bottom?
I'll take the bottom.
You'll take the bottom. So there's a question at the top and a question at the bottom.
Okay.
Okay.
This sounds kind of racy at the top or bottom, but I'll go for the bottom today. What do we got?
Go for the bottom. Okay. So what's one thing that you've been holding on to that it's time to let go of? What would you say to that?
I really don't have a response. And the reason why is I've gone through a lot of things, and I've shed so much. I have no regrets anymore. I live a different life than many people. And I'm not working on anything that's holding me back. And I know that sounds unbelievable, but that's my mindset. Repeat the question again, and I'll see if I come up with something.
No, and that could be an answer, right? And that's actually the first time that someone has answered in that way, believe it or not. So the question is, what's one thing that you've been holding on to that it's time to let go of, or that you can let go of? Either it's emotional, it's physical, anything.
I can tell you so many things I have let go of.
Tell me one thing that you have let go of that was really transformational.
Oh, close relationships that just had to be severed. Family relationships, for instance. A lot of people say that they can't stop talking to a parent or a sibling, or an aunt and an uncle because they're family. I got over that a while ago, saying, you know what, if they're not good for me, and it's holding me back where I can't be good for others, that's just a bad relationship. And I'm not like most people. A lot of people are kind of hung up, I believe, with, oh my gosh, what would happen if I got a divorce? What would people think? My father, I have to still see him, because he's my father, right? Even though he stresses me out and he says horrible things about me, I still need to go to those family functions. My question is, really? Do you? And I think a lot of people aren't strong enough to do what they need to do, which is cut the cancer out of their lives. And you know what I'm talking about. This happens all the time. I've done a lot of things in my life that other people wouldn't have done. Yeah. And the more I do that, the easier it is. And so I find that, especially with the younger generations, I keep going back to this, I find that there seems to be a lot of excuses and a lot of, well, it's not that easy, or my parents' generation, they didn't have to deal with this, and there's so many problems today in society. There's always been problems. My father was born in 1930. He lived in a depression and a world war. He's 93, still going strong, no problems. And so anyway, don't have a specific answer, but I totally understand, because at my age today, I've gotten to a point where I made a decision to just start carving crap out.
Yeah.
And I'm free. And that's
yeah. And I mean, so you can see that you went through,
oh yeah,
you call it the work, the work you've gone through that. And you can just imagine how many people need to do that work, need to let go of things, and a lot of people are looking to get something new, or looking to change their life by what can they gain, what can they do so that they can become, not realizing first that you need to start letting go. And that's the first, that's the first stage of transcending anything.
And most people won't. They won't. They're afraid. They really are. They're afraid to let go of that relationship or the job or anything. And I think that's always been the case. I think most people, well, I know this for a fact. Studies say people are more afraid of a loss than the potential win. In other words, someone rather not lose something than win something.
Yeah, definitely.
They'd rather not lose $100 than win $100.
Yeah.
And people are afraid of loss, and they're afraid of change. People say all the time, I don't like change. You see, I love change. Throw change at me, brother. I love change. I thrive on change. And that's probably a big difference between me and most people, where they're like, oh, I lost my job. Oh, my girlfriend broke up with me. Congratulations. They're like, what do you mean? I've told people when they're going through a divorce, I say, congratulations. They're like, what do you mean? I said, this is a new beginning. This is a blessing. Trust me. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And they're like, this is rough. I said, you know what? I've been through a divorce, and it wasn't my idea. And it was rough. And it was the single biggest thing that happened to me and changed my life. It wasn't the birth of my children. It wasn't anything else. It was that event. And honestly, Gray, I think that that's when it really changed for me. And I was 30 years old. That's when it really changed for me, where I'm like, if I can live through this, because it was brutal. When I look back, it was pivotal. And I think everyone should have major hardship that doesn't kill them.
100% agree. And I love what you said there. It was brutal, but it was pivotal. And that's what people need to realize. And actually, I mean, that was one question, but you can imagine actually how one question can actually have a powerful change in people's lives. Because yes, you say most people don't want to change, but it's been incredible to watch a question, even just like that one that just came up, the amount of people that have let go of things. Why? Because of the power of awareness and collective support. And so when you're playing purpose, part of it is we're making a safe space here, guys. If you're going to play this game, yes, it's fun. You've had people playing it, right before a party, everyone connects. You have it all kinds of different things, right, on a date. But then you also have people that play this game like on retreats and ceremonies, where it gets really deep. And I was hearing a story of someone who was playing it, like a shaman was playing in Ibiza, in Spain, right? And then they were doing it, and there was a drum, and people were saying top or bottom, they got really deep, and how transformational it was. It was cool to hear. But the thing is that when you have that awareness of what is I actually have to let go of, people think about it, they identify, and through that identifying, it's I have to let go of this excuse. It's time. I have to let go of this relationship that no longer serves me. It's time. And when you have people around you that are like it's time, like you can do this, guess what? You just get this newfound power and energy in you, and there's a purpose to let it go, right? And that's why, through hundreds of questions, and now, like for me, like this is one game. We have 10 plus games that are launching this year before 2025. We have 4 games that are launching in the next quarter, right? And they're all different editions for different purposes. We just partnered up with one of the biggest coffee houses here in British Columbia, they're going to be having the purpose game edition of that coffee house at all 27 locations starting in 3 weeks. And so there's a lot of expansion for us in terms of like really connecting, having these conversations and bringing into daily life a lot more. And I believe that if you change the conversations around the world, you can change the world. And the reason for that is because all there is, Jim, it's a network of conversations, all the way from politics to entertainment to tech. Everything is a network of conversations. If you can elevate the conversations, you're elevating consciousness, what people are speaking about. Now we're just not just speaking about, what happened here and this drama here and what's the weather like here and or other surface level things. We're actually stepping into different truths of each other. And through those truths of each other, we start discovering our own truth. And that's why it's powerful.
It sounds like in some instances, it could be a therapy session. I can see people crying, breaking down because, they have this inside themselves, whatever this is. And the question is asked and they start down the path. And I can see like 60, 90 seconds into it, them just like, but it could be very good for them to get it off their chest.
Actually, the first time I played this game with a group of people, and it was important for me to bring people that didn't not all know each other. And I'll tell you this off screen because it's a long story, but it was a very powerful first time. And at what period of time there was, it was really interesting how it all kind of happened. And once people started playing for a while, someone said it at the table. They said, "Gray, this game is normal. It can normalize therapy between friends." And that happened as there was tears, there was laughs, there was hugs, and all of this in the time where people were the most disconnected ever, because there was lockdowns in Montreal and many different other places, right? And so it just happened to be really powerful for me to see. And when I started seeing kind of like the impact that had there, that's when I knew I had to. And they said, "You have to make this." Right. And so it's interesting to see what is it. That was a moment for me, especially in the beginning. And so it is. And then since then, we've had hundreds of therapists that have actually used the cards, in different moments. My own aunt in Mexico is a therapist, and she was telling me the other day how she uses it before every client. She just picks up a card and asks top or bottom. And then from there kind of gets a conversation going. And she says how it opens up compared to when she's just, going straight into it. It allows them to be. And the thing about that too, Jim, is that we're bringing it back to play. And once we are playing, that's bringing us back to our highest level of authenticity and of presence. A lot of people are not present, especially in this day and age. You know that, right? And how important it is to be present. So I see purpose, and especially our future games, to be an opportunity to really anchor people back to the present. Because I've seen it happen. People are not on their phones when they're playing purpose. Nobody is, which is so rare, right?
Well, so you can't. You have to unplug. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
I mean, I find myself on my electronic devices all the time. But in all fairness, I really use the technology predominantly for business. But there's some educational things, like I get news and so forth from my device. But I think a difference between someone from my generation and my children's generation is I'm not doing a lot of connecting with people my age. Like my daughter, she'll spend all day, selfies and TikTok and talking to people, communicating that way, where I won't. If it's my friend's birthday, I'll probably send them a text and call them. But then again, I'm from a different generation. And so I can't totally understand what some people are going through. I've been happily married for 26 years. My wife and I spent a lot of time together. I don't have a lot of friends. I know a lot of people, but most men my age don't have 50 or 100 friends anymore like we did in high school. We have, 5 or 6 people who we know would show up to our funeral. And so you always know it's a good friend that show up to your funeral. Um, and I just find it fascinating today how disconnected people are in an ultra connected world. I wish we could talk about this for hours, but we can't. But here's what I want to promise the people who are listening and watching this. I'm going to put your contact information in the show notes. And also, I want to put a link in there so people can order the game.
Yeah. I would love to for me, when it comes to it, what gets me the most excited is to hear any stories and see how we can be of further service, because the game is the starting point, and for the Purpose brand, and we can talk about that in the future more. But we have a lot of exciting projects and that are really transformational, but it wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for the game. And so anyone who's listening who wants to experience that, give it a try. I can guarantee you that you will have a profound experience. My challenge to you is to play it 10 times and tell me how you have transformed, how you have seen things in a different way, how you have listened to somebody that was maybe around you, but you haven't actually looked at them or appreciated them fully. I have a friend, 25 plus years I played this game with. The first time we looked at each other and we said, wow, I've known this person for 25 years since I'm super young. And it's crazy. I played this game with my own mother. Right. And so, and I realized all these different things that I had no idea. And so how powerful is that? Right. And so, yeah, I would love to hear your stories and see how else, me or my team can be of service.
Yeah. Have a purpose party and give feedback to Gray. Gray, thank you so much for joining me today here on the podcast. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Jim. Really appreciate it, man.